Missed an episode of your favorite podcast? Choose from over a decade of content in our archives, not just the latest episode. All free at GCNlive.com.
This is your call to action. Get prepared, America. Economy, survival, energy, disasters. This is USAPrepares.com. Informative radio, educational radio. Interact now by emailing instructor@USAPrepares.com or text at 434-390-7953. Class, please take your seats. Now, your instructor, Vincent Finelli.
Good morning, everyone, and today it is Shaely sitting in for Vincent, who's recovering from a minor, hopefully, problem, and I am available, especially to take your calls at 866-582-9933. And Vince sent me enough questions that I'll keep busy until we get that first call. The question first is one vinegar better than another? Apple cider, wine, or white? Well, they're all vinegar, and they all have a certain pH effect, and that means all of them are somewhat good at helping to sterilize and clean things. However, to take it by mouth is a strong preference for apple cider vinegar. I wouldn't think of drinking or taking in my mouth or into my food anything other than apple cider vinegar. He asked, can one pour an ounce of vinegar and sip it all day? Well, yeah, if you don't mind the taste. I'm not quite sure it'd be that good for your teeth. It might actually not only take off the plaque, but erode a little bit of the calcium from your teeth. I don't know. I prefer to just add it to a glass of water or a slush of some kind. Is it an essential nutrient or food? Not really in the usual sense of the word. It's an accessory. It's not absolutely essential, but it does especially help digestion. I think its greatest benefit is improving the digestive process and perhaps your whole, intestinal program. Can D-mannose be taken if there's a possibility of a urinary tract infection, even without a UTI test? Well, 95% of all urinary tract infections are E. coli. The bacteria E. coli likes mannose better than it likes your bladder, so it rides it out when you urinate, and it will do, instead of an antibiotic, about 95% of the time. If it's got a fever, I wouldn't hesitate to go see a regular doctor, but if it's just an irritation, I would try D-mannose first. I prefer the powder to the capsules, about 1 teaspoon a day. Does glucosamine rebuild joints, or is it more effective with MSM? Well, glucosamine is part of what does help build joints and cartilage to some extent. Everything practically in your entire diet is better if taken with some MSM. Methylsulfonylmethane is one of my great favorites. It's in Dr. Sheely's Youth Formula. It includes 1 gram there, which doubles the effectiveness of the vitamin C. However, you could take another gram easily and improve your metabolism and your immune system. I think everyone should take MSM. And, by the way, if you prefer to ask your questions instead of listening to me, answer my own questions, 866-582-9933. If one uses a cast iron skillet for frying eggs or simmering vegetable sauce, spaghetti sauce, etc., can you get too much iron? Absolutely. There was a big article that came out this morning about the negative effects of excess iron. It can interfere with everything in your body, cause severe liver disease in men, and even predispose you to cancer. So if you are getting adequate iron from your diet, you would do better not to cook in a cast iron skillet. And of course, if you don't get enough, you're going to be anemic, and that can be an equal problem. Do copper pipes of plumbing work to the body's benefit versus plastic plumbing? Absolutely. You do need to get a little bit of copper out of the pipes, and that's a lot better than getting plastic out of the pipes. But you need zinc as an adjunct. In other words, there's a relationship between zinc, where you need maybe about 20 milligrams a day, and copper, where you need 2 to 3 milligrams a day. But I still strongly prefer copper water pipes to plastic pipes. Do old iron pipes cause too much iron intake? Certainly they could, and they actually can rust, and I don't know what on earth happens if they get that corroded. I don't like iron pipes. What are your concerns about food made with city water in city food factories? Well, that's one of the reasons I do not buy canned anything in the grocery store. I don't buy bread, soda, beer, tonic water, etc., because it's all made with fluoridated water. And fluoride is the greatest single poison in our thousands of poisons that affect the world today. Fluoride is at the top on the list of avoid, avoid, avoid. Don't buy canned anything. And bread, of course, not only has too much iron in it, but the other place that has excess iron in it is so-called cereal. Now, I haven't had a box of cereal in 40 or 50 years. I don't eat boxed cereal. It is junk. It has not only often 2 or 3 times too much iron, it's got all kinds of other junk in it, including sugar, of course. So, no boxed, ready-made cereals. Should we consume a daily amount of tonic water and quinine? Well, again, if it comes in a bottle from a city, it's got probably a 50% chance of having fluoride in it, so I'd be careful. Have you ever seen anyone who's turned blue from colloidal silver? They don't turn blue. They turn a kind of silvery color. It's not quite like silver itself. It's called argyria, and you can certainly get that. I had a distant family member who got argyria, and it could cause serious problems. Do you have any colloidal silver concerns? For example, taking colloidal silver and then taking a cell phone, metallic silver atoms combined with a 2.4 gigahertz frequency. Well, of course, I don't use a cell phone. I don't believe in them. I don't recommend them. I don't use one. I don't have one. And I don't recommend anybody use them. If you're going to take colloidal silver, maybe you should avoid them extra at that time if you don't avoid them other time. But I find, cell phones only double the incidence of brain cancer. Now, the incidence is only 1% in our average population. But I don't want a 2% risk of having a brain cancer. So I would not, under any circumstance, recommend the use of a cell phone. Can you explain the vitamin C, B, and K in relationship as well? Everything affects everything. In other words, if you take over 100 milligrams of vitamin C a day, you actually can wind up in trouble with kidney stones if you do not have adequate B6. In fact, I told my lawyer that many years ago, and the idiot didn't pay attention to me. He wound up with kidney stones, but fortunately I had the correspondence showing him how stupid he was. So you do need B-complex with vitamin C. Now, in today's world, we need considerably more vitamin B than we did 50 years ago. Back then, 1 to 2.5 milligrams of each of the basic Bs was adequate. Today, you need a minimum of 25 milligrams of B1, B2, B4, B6, etc. And if you're taking, which I recommend, of course, like my youth formula, 2,000 milligrams of vitamin C a day, you really do need 50 milligrams of B-complex a day. Vitamin K, of course, is also related not only to all the others, but more to vitamin D3. And you must have some minimum amount of K, that is just 100 micrograms a day, to balance out your vitamin D3. It's an interesting question about hydration, dehydration. A lot of people do not drink enough water. Now, if you're drinking city water, you might be better drinking the toilet. But city water with fluoride is really not a way of hydrating your body. It is very dangerous, especially to men. Sperm count in this country has decreased from 150 million 50 years ago to 40 million today. Men are infertile when it falls to 20 million. I have actually seen men with sperm counts below 50 million since the early 90s. Do not drink city water. Get yourself some kind of filter, at least for your cooking and drinking water. I don't know about bathing in it. Personally, I don't like it in my house. I don't want it near me. Every city council in the country should be voted out of office every single election until they get rid of fluoride in the city water. Now, again, anytime, I'm happy to take your questions instead of mine or Vincent's. 866-582-9933. Now, what is, so does pinching the skin of one's upper wrist and releasing it indicate dehydration? Well, mostly. But if you're very thin, it can, if you don't have enough subcutaneous fat, it's still going to look as if you're dehydrated, perhaps. But it's just one. But really, actually, I think your thirst should tell you. Ideally, you should be thirsty when you need water. Now, if you weigh 150 pounds, you need 75 ounces of water, non-city, non-fluoridated. So half of your body weight in pounds, you drink in ounces of good water. To me, thirst should be the number one monitor, but you could actually measure your drinking. An average glass is 8 ounces, so take whatever you need to get half your body weight in ounces. Does insufficient copper cause premature hair whitening? Yes, it can, but of course, all kinds of things. It's strongly genetic as well. Is there a supplement to restore the youthful hair color naturally? My mother lived to be 97, and she had only about half of her hair gray at that age. She was a health nut, much like me, all of her life, and so I don't know unequivocally one that will prevent it, but interestingly, we have found that people using our sapphire-enhanced adrenomedulloscalar device have regained a lot of the color in their hair. It alone seems to take away at least 50% of hair color over a period of a year or two. Now, I've run out of Vince's questions, and I'm going to therefore start talking about things I would like to. However, at any time, the number one way to find out what you want to know about anything, because everything is related to health, is give me a call at 866-582-9933. So let's talk about the top of my list of health. Unequivocally at the top of my list is Autogenic Training. AUTOGENIC training. It is the number one way to enhance your health, reduce your stress, and detach from things you cannot change. It has been around since 1912. There are 28,000 sites. And today it is Norm Shaely at the controls, more or less, thanks to our great technicians there in Minnesota. And I hear that Joey is on the phone. Good morning.
Good morning, Norm. How are you?
I'm great, thanks. What's going on?
Hey, I got an earache, and it was really bad last week. I was spraying silver in it. I spraying copper in it. That didn't seem to work. And then I put a antibiotic ointment on a Q-tip, and within an hour it was better, but it's not good. I mean, the pressure's gone, but it still feels like I'm underwater. So
well, unless you're going to, and actually, it's not the number one way I would treat it, but you really need to have a physician look at your ear. This is where acute medicine shines in general. I would say of all the things that have helped most over the last 40 or 50 years with antibiotics is ear infections, especially in kids. So it can be serious. It could cause lack of hearing. It could cause abscesses in the brain. I would not ignore it, Joy. Now, colloidal silver can sometimes help. Basically, I would take it by mouth rather than putting it just into the ear. But I would also have a physician look at it just to be sure.
What causes that ear infection?
Well, they're almost always bacteria. I suppose it could be viruses, but I would say the vast majority are bacteria.
So probably if you took your key and you were scratching your ear with it, that would probably not be a good thing.
No, I don't think I'd irrigate the ear with vitamin C. No. Intravenously, take 100 grams, it might help. But again, your hearing and the ear and its connection with the brain are so important. In my opinion, this is one of the best things in conventional medicine, to have a physician take care of it.
If they're going to give you something, what do you think they're going to give you?
Well, almost certainly an antibiotic. But now, it can be anything from one of the penicillin family, but I leave that to the judgment of the physician.
All right. Last week, you were talking about when you take too much vitamin C so you don't get a kidney stone, take the B6 with it. How does that work?
Well, you got to have 50 to 100 grams, 50 to 100 milligrams of B6 to compensate for extra vitamin C, yes.
And the B6 does what? How does it breaks it down? It helps it dissolve different, or what?
Exactly. It prevents them entirely.
Okay.
Actually, I had an attorney many, many years ago. I told him about this, and he didn't take my advice. He got a kidney stone. Fortunately, I had the correspondence with him where I told him he could get kidney stone if he didn't take enough B6. But, I've been taking 2 to 3 grams of vitamin C most of my entire life, and I've never had a kidney stone, but I've always taken lots of B complex with it.
Well, when this ear was bothering me a lot last week, I was up to 16 grams over the day, and the next day it was just about gone.
Yeah, that can help. No question it can help, but again, chronic ear infections can lead to abscesses. I've actually gave a paper. One of the first papers I gave at a national meeting was on a brain abscess from that kind of thing.
All right, so it'd be better to have it looked at. All right, next question. So a friend of mine, he had a prostate repair done, I don't know, a year or two ago. So he's nervous about all kinds of stuff. Last week, he passed one day what looked like a jelly bean, and another one the second day, and he's thinking it was a kidney stone, which he's made an appointment to go to the doctor, but he still haven't gotten no appointment yet. And he's been complaining about, pain on either side of his groin, and it comes and goes.
Right.
That could be from a kidney stone doing that?
It's an unusual place to have it as kidney stones. They usually occur more in the back or in the bladder itself. But, again, this is the place I'd go to the emergency room if necessary.
I'll hold here a minute.
Okay, hold on. And it is Norm Shaely sitting in for Vince today, and Joy is still on the phone. Joe, you had another question?
So we go back to that kidney stone story. He did have a pain in his upper middle back, and when he passed it. So now we go to the third question. So I have another person that never thought he had AFib, and then his doctor says, you have AFib, and he's older, he's 77. Anyway, they thought...
Watch your language, Joey. I'm teasing.
Norm, you're an exceptional shape for your age.
I'm sorry, I couldn't resist.
No, I know, and I mean, anyway, this guy used to be really alert. Well, then they decided for a treatment, they would stop his heart and restart it. So they did it. It didn't work. So they did it a second time. And since they did this, it was somewhere in July, August, his memory is slowly becoming less and less and less.
Okay. He is almost certainly deficient in magnesium. In my opinion, the treatment of atrial fibrillation is intravenous magnesium. I personally have had several episodes of it, starting in 2009, and I've cured it myself with magnesium. Now, most people will do okay if they use 4 teaspoons of magnesium lotion on the skin daily. Taking magnesium by mouth is a waste of money and time and energy. It is not well absorbed. But I give you 10 to 1 odds that he is highly deficient in intracellular magnesium. Now, the best way to get it is 2 teaspoons twice a day on the skin, or to get the magnesium chloride, not Epsom salt. Epsom salt is magnesium sulfate. It's not nearly as well absorbed as magnesium chloride. But you can buy magnesium chloride crystals, and putting about 4 cups of those into the bathtub and soaking in it is actually even better than putting it on the skin in the lotion. But I would strongly advise he take up magnesium lotion.
Well, and that magnesium deficiency will have an effect on his memory lapsing?
Oh, yes, of course. Magnesium is involved in 350 different biochemical responses in the body.
Oh,
memory is definitely one of them. Now, he probably also needs B complex.
Let's go back to the ear infection quick. So let's just say there is no doctor. Everything's locked up. How would you fight that thing? Because that's like all of this stuff. When we talked about the prostrate, you talked about it last week. We talked about it, and that was the person that when I called, you told them to use the green treatment, the green light, that passed those jelly beans. But let's just say, those are things, everything's great when you have a doctor today, but, the way our world's going, we don't even know if there's going to be a tomorrow, let alone a doctor tomorrow. So if you had to treat an ear infection in a grid down scenario, what would be the easiest way to do that?
I would put 3 drops of castor oil into the ear and then put a heating pad on it for 10 minutes.
And that castor oil, does that have to be a particular kind?
And no, for the ear, it would be okay to use the massage type, any kind of castor oil.
And that lets the oil get in there. And then how about that other thing called a wax candle?
That one I don't know enough about. I'm not opposed to it, but I've never used it. I'm a little bit concerned about melting wax into my ear.
The wax, it sticks out the side. I had it done 15 years ago.
Yeah.
And the stuff that came out was unbelievable. I mean,
I'm sure it could work. That one I don't, I don't know all the folk remedies.
The heating pad is for how long?
Well, I think just 10 or 15 minutes would be adequate.
Yeah, your last week's show was just incredible. The fact that you were putting out all those different parts, that's stuff people listen to and they don't make notes. They take it for granted, and they always assume somebody's going to be there to answer.
Right.
That little sister of mine, when she had the stroke last year, she's actually driving now. She tires out easily. It's like if she does an hour's worth of stuff, she's mentally fatigued. Anything in particular she can do for that?
Well, of course, I take 100 milligrams of B complex. That's always at the top of my list for that kind of problem. The other thing that could be NADH is a nice, normal mental energizer. There are 2 others also. You could play with an acetyl L-carnitine or NAC. Any one of these 3 can help mental energy.
She's been using the PEMF thing, and for a while I had it. We'd take turns every day. Then I would take it, use it all night. and I left it with her for the last 3 weeks. And
well, if it's not helping, then she definitely needs more B-complex, almost certainly, and maybe one of the other energy supplements.
What's happening is she just, I don't know, could she be depressed?
Well, yeah, the single greatest thing for depression, of course, is L-tryptophan and lithium orotate plus the B-complex.
What is the lithium orotate?
Lithium orotate is a mineral, and depending on the weight, probably 10 to 15 milligrams of lithium orotate over the counter. It helps you make serotonin, the bright-eyed, bushy-tail wake-up hormone.
Does you take that with anything else, or you don't take it with something?
Well, you take it with B-complex. You know, she needs at least 25 to 50 milligrams of B-complex, and the L-tryptophan up to 4 grams a day.
You know, these are the little incidentals that nobody knows about. And, I mean, when you look you up on YouTube, you have like, I don't know, only like 3,500 YouTube videos.
I like to talk.
Oh, you know what? And it's a privilege to get to ask you questions. You know, just some of the emails you send out and some of those pictures. I mean, people, they just don't know. They just don't understand what we have and how fragile our life is. It's kind of really funny how, you know, but this part, if there was one thing, how important the type of exercise, whether you're walking, whether it was, what's the word? Something she does like a memory exercise, because physical exercise is good. I mean, she really...
My favorite actually is go to YouTube and find Bounce with Dr. Shaely.
Yeah.
The reason I like that one is you're moving your arms. Music conductors live longer than any other profession. And I've been recommending this to people who don't like to exercise. You just stand in place and minimally bend your knees a little bit. You can even watch television while doing it. God forbid I don't watch television, but at any rate. But you move both arms in a circular motion the entire time. And actually, of my 2 hours of exercise every morning, I do 30 minutes of bouncing while on a Vibe machine.
Oh, you actually use one of those vibratory...
Oh, I've used one since 1994.
Oh, because I picked her up the jogging tramp with a little armrest on it. Cause she,
yep, those are good.
Well, what she liked about it is she's moving. It's making her arms move a little bit, and it's working. What's there? The lymph glands. It's getting all that stuff to move around.
Oh yeah, well, it's good for the lymph. It's good for circulation. Any movement is better than sitting.
Last question about, what are those called? The violet ray machines?
Interestingly, the old violet ray is one of the best things in the world. It never has been well recognized. It actually puts out human DNA frequency of 52 to 78 billion cycles a second. You can actually stimulate an acupuncture point with 1 minute of the violet ray applied to the acupuncture point. You can do all kinds of beneficial things with violet ray. It's one of my favorite old tools.
So, how would you pick an acupuncture point to use the violet ray on?
Well, you have to know which ones to use, but you could stimulate, for instance, any of the rings. You know, I've got the 5 rings, which consist of 12 or 13 points each. But you could stimulate the whole ring. Now, it would take you, 12 to 13 minutes. However, with the bliss oils, you can do it in 30 seconds because you just barely touch it with the oil. But if you don't want the oil, you want to try the violet ray, it works beautifully. But you have to know where the points are, of course.
I bought one of those, and when I get a bruise, I run that thing over the bruise, and it really dissipates it. What do you know about DMSO?
Well, I've done a great deal of work with DMSO over the years, and it is great. In fact, interesting, your FDA, as you know, I don't want to claim it,
Right.
allows you to irrigate the bladder with DMSO, but they don't want to put it on the skin. typical FDA. But basically, MSM, methylsulfonomethane by mouth, works quite as well as DMSO on the skin.
Oh, so if you take DMSM?
No, MSM, methylsulfonomethane.
Okay. And that's a capsule or a pill form.
You can get it in powder as well, 1 teaspoon a day.
Okay. Because I know the DMSO, whenever I know I'm going to have a pain, like I was cutting wood one day, so I mix it down, too. I dilute it with some distilled water, like 2 parts DMSO, 3 parts distilled water. I spray that on. I mean, it smells funny. Your urine smells funny in the morning, but usually you have no pain. But can you use the DMSO and use the violet ray together, or that wouldn't have no benefit?
No, anything that's safe is excellent together, and it would be safe.
So that frequency on the violet ray, how different is the frequency on the violet ray than the gamma state, the theta state?
Oh, totally different. Gamma is 40, ideally 40 cycles per second, up to 100. But we're talking about, with the violet ray, we're talking 52 to 78 billion cycles a second.
So how's the violet ray work different than the PEMF?
Well, the violet ray is more a generalized back to normal thing. It has some of the same benefits as the PEMF, but it's a lot more cumbersome. Now, actually, my Rejuva-Matrix, REJUVAMATRIX, is sort of like a general violet ray device for the whole body. That device, if you rely on it for an hour a day, will also regenerate your telomeres.
Let me hold on, because that's another question I want to ask you about telomeres when you get back.
I hope our other call is waiting also.
Oh, okay. I'll let you go then. Thank you, Norm.
Thanks, Joey. And it's Norm Shaely at event today, and is our caller still on the line? I'm sorry?
Is it me?
Hello?
Hello?
Yes, do you have a question?
Hi, it's Georgie, Norm.
I'm not hearing her.
Oh.
Hello?
Can you hear me now?
Barely. Speak up.
I'm screaming. Georgie is calling. Can't hear me.
Let me see if our engineer can repeat the question for me. Can you do that?
Okay. Yeah.
Are you listening?
Yes.
Hello?
Can you hear me now?
Okay, go for it.
Well, it's Georgie calling.
You're breaking up. I'm just not getting you.
I just wonder why. Okay. My question is more of a comment about dealing with so much of the polarization and isolation that people are facing today.
Well, to me, that takes me back to what I was going to talk about next on my own, autogenic training. The number one way to reduce stress that you can't otherwise handle is train your brain. There's a technique called Autogenic Training, Basic Schultz, SCHULTZ. You can get it free by going to my website, normsheely.com, and when you sign up for my free email newsletter, you get a download of Autogenic Focus. If you will listen to that 18 minutes twice a day, it allows you to say, who cares? I learned it in 1972. I've used it with 100,000 or more people. It is the single greatest way to help you deal with today's nonsense.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yep, go ahead.
Okay. Well, it's Georgie, the friend and poet.
No, I got to go back to the engineer. I just am not getting it. Your voice is not coming through.
Okay.
Well, can you repeat her question for me? Okay, go ahead. Give the question, please. You there, ma'am?
Yeah.
Give the engineer your question, and he'll give it to me.
Oh, I see. Okay. Well, my question was more of, given the light that I said about the polarization and isolation, people staying home more and more, unable to leave, even if they can, they're afraid to go out more and more. It's just some of the things that I think Dr. Shaely can, just discuss about, just because of his personality and his overall arching wisdom about so many things.
Well, let's face it, I did get the gist of the question adequately. People today are more scared and more afraid than they've been any time that I know of in my life, at least. I refuse to get involved with it. I refuse to go to places that require masks. I'd have to be half dead to wear one in public. But I practiced autogenic training in 1972 enough that now I only do it about a minute once or twice a day. And it's the only way I know to avoid it. We found that in this pseudodemic, fakeodemic, stupidemic that's going on right now, telomeres have shrunk 2% in 6 months. That is that's 4 times the average rate of decreasing telomeres because of the fakeodemic. And so you really must train yourself to, not allow it to get to you. I can't change the weather. I can't change government, so I detach. And I know nothing else that will let you detach as well as autogenic training.
Okay, that is my main question to think about, using the autogenic training and detaching, because it's getting harder for people that I work with to detach. And, I need to I give them some hints, I give them information, but sometimes it's hard for me to even figure out how to help people because they're so shutting down. They even are reaching out. I don't know if you can hear me now, but even reaching out for help.
Yes, I'm getting it. Well, again, I believe autogenic training should be taught in kindergarten. We should learn to do that early in life. And I strongly, strongly recommend that every human being train the brain to detach from those things you cannot change. No point wasting your energy.
Wonderful.
Thanks for calling. It is Norm Shaely sitting in for Vince today, and we're here to talk about anything and everything because it is all related to your health. If you have a question, please call 866-582-9933. 866-582-9933. And we'll be happy to answer it. Meanwhile, I want to go into a little more detail about autogenic training. In the early part of the last century, hypnosis was a big item. And a German psychiatrist, Johann A. Schultz, did not like the fact that when he put people in hypnotic trance, they became dependent upon him. He wanted them to be dependent upon themselves. So he asked people what they felt as he took them deeper and deeper into trance. Now, in hypnosis, you can go to stage 1 up to stage 4. By stage 4, you are anesthetic. And he found that they began to feel certain things. The first thing they felt was their arms and legs becoming heavy and warm. Then they could feel the heartbeat becoming calm and regular. Then they could feel how easy breathing was, free and easy. The abdomen warm, the forehead cool, and the mind quiet and still. And he made those into phrases. And by the time I learned about autogenic training in 1972, there were 2,600 scientific references on how good it was. I found it so useful in treating my patients with chronic depression, anxiety, and pain that I went back and got a PhD in psychology to understand this whole thing of self-control, self-regulation. And out of that, I developed something I call Biogenics. I developed now 67 or 8 different variations on a theme. But the basic theme is training yourself to detach. Who cares? Yes, you can care, but are you going to waste your life energy over it? I don't believe if you're sitting in front of a car coming at you or standing in front of it, get out of the way. But if it's something you can't change, like the weather or the government or law, then just detach. It's a lot nicer and more pleasant just to say, I really don't care. It's not my business. I can't change the world. But we have all kinds of variations. You can find all of those on our website, normshaely.com, NORMSHEALY.com. There you can look up Biogenics and Autogenic Training and all of our other goodies that we have to offer, because I've been working in this field since, well, the mid-'60s is when I really began to come out of the box, discovering TENS and spinal cord stimulation, and then learning to train the brain. You can, most people, no matter how chronic the problem, can actually be made well without drugs. I am not a fan of any drug in the world. Now, in acute situations, drugs can save your life. In chronic situations, drugs can cost you your life. One of my favorite statements, I've been doing a radio call-in show here in Springfield, Missouri for over 32 years. One of my favorite statements is, I don't know any chronic disease for which I would allow conventional therapy. I don't care whether it's hypertension or depression or anxiety or a stroke or whatever. I don't like drugs. I don't know any drug that I would allow in our body. Now, I do use thyroid replacement. I don't consider that a drug. I consider that a supplement, just as I consider vitamins of various kinds supplements. But the important thing is to train your brain. Now, you can do it. It does take a little time, but what's more important than your life? What's more important than your anxiety or your depression or whatever you're trying to bring under control? Now, if you want me to continue talking, listen in. If you want to ask me a question, call 866-582-9933. Let's talk about hypertension. It is one of the more common problems in the world today. I can control hypertension virtually 100% of the time without a drug. I have weaned scores, if not hundreds of people off up to 3 antihypertensive drugs. Antihypertensive drugs work 45% of the time. Isn't that amazing? 55% of the time they don't work at all. But you get all the side effects of the drugs, the antihypertensive drugs. Number one side effect is fatigue, no energy whatsoever. If you're male, erectile dysfunction, because you have the energy, it doesn't matter. But I can wean you from that safely. Within a period of a month, have you off those stupid drugs, well-controlled blood pressure, and greatly improved energy. That's just the top of the box. If it's type 2 diabetes, I can control that 100% of the time without a drug. Now, there are a number of herbs that can be used, but we start with controlling blood sugar with one of the herbs in certain aspects of diet. Now, the biggest illness in this country, honestly, is obesity. Over 72% of Americans are overweight. That is now the number one cause of premature death. And well over 36% are just plain fat. That means a body mass index of 30 or more. That's the minimum of 40 pounds over your ideal weight. By the time you get to 40 pounds over your ideal weight, your risk is the same as someone who smokes 3 packs of cigarettes a day. You have cut your life expectancy already by 18 years minimum. People who sit all day have the same risk as someone who smokes 1 or 2 packs of cigarettes a day. Inactivity is the second greatest cause of premature death. And the third greatest cause of premature death is not eating fruits and vegetables. The average American eats 2.2 servings of fruits and vegetables a day. The ideal is 8 to 10 servings of fruits and vegetables a day. Now, you don't have to get it out of the grocery department. You can get it in supplements. My breakfast consists of 20 servings of fruits and vegetables in a slush. I get the equivalent of eating 20 extra servings of fruits and vegetables every day of my life before I start the day. And that is so important to you. There are a number of ways of getting those supplements. At the top of my list is probably ORAC Rich Greens, GREENS. One scoop of that is 6 servings of fruits and vegetables. Then I get another 5 from Moringa, MORINGA, a little package of that. But there are many, many ways of getting these things. And, of course, at regular meals, I get fruits and vegetables as well. I also want to mention protein. To me, we could live almost exclusively on protein with a little bit of fat. We can make all the carbohydrate or sugar we need out of protein or fat. We don't need much fat. But a tablespoon or 2 a day of coconut oil or good olive oil or avocado oil, these are all excellent. You do need a little bit. And you need the fat-soluble vitamins, especially vitamin E, tocotrienols. You need 100 milligrams a day of tocotrienols, vitamin E. Now, my favorite is a company called KYANI. It makes a product called Sunset. 3 of those a day gives you your adequate vitamin E. This probably the number one complaint of people in general is low energy. That is because you're not making adequate nitric oxide. And again, my favorite product there is KYANI, Nitro Extreme, NITROXTREME. 15 to 30 drops of that once or twice a day can make a difference not only in your blood pressures, we're on the top things for controlling hypertension, but it never causes a problem. It is excellent for your memory, your mood, and your life in general. So having good health habits is the top of my list. Now, other than not smoking and keeping your body weight down and exercising, the next thing is sleep. People who sleep just 6 hours or less a night are acting at the state as if they had slightly drunk too much alcohol, just a little bit too much. There are more accidents, automobile accidents, caused by people with lack of sleep than there are from alcohol or drugs. You must get your sleep. Now, obviously, if you plan it and use your thing, you need it. But you must take care of yourself. I can't do it for you. I can't sleep for you. I can't eat for you. I can't exercise for you. I cannot smoke for you, but I wouldn't get in your presence if you're smoking in my presence. And, of course, the important thing is you must take care of yourself. Now, in 1971, I flipped totally out of the box. I stopped doing neurosurgery because I was being sent over 400 people a year who had failed conventional surgery. My average patient had 5 or more unsuccessful back operations. And they were sent to me for one of my inventions, spinal cord stimulation. However, they were on Valium, a horrible drug. There's not a mood drug in the world that I would use for anybody. And Percodan, a narcotic, which I never would prescribe for anybody chronically. And I needed to find out, how do you take care of these people who fail everything that conventional medicine has to offer? So we started doing behavioral modification. I put them in the hospital for 1 month average. Over a period of a week or 10 days, I withdrew them from all their mood and narc drugs, and we kept them busy all day. I ordered them to walk so many times up and down the hall a day. I sent them to the physical therapy for exercise. I sent to the swimming pool for exercise, where the nurses massaged them with a mechanical device as well as with ice rub sounds. And interestingly, at the end of the first year, we had a 75% cure rate. That is excellent relief of pain, depression, anxiety, no drugs. And Then that's about when I learned about autogenic training. I added that to the program. And now, over the last, 48 or 9 years, we've worked with over 34,000 people who failed conventional medicine, ranging from pain to depression, anxiety, hypertension, whatever. All of these things can be managed without drugs. Now, again, if you have a question you'd like to ask me, now is the time, 866-582-9933. And it is Norm Shaely sitting in today for Vince, and you can get your questions answered right now at 862-582-9933. Otherwise, I'll keep talking about things that I consider important, which is your health and well-being. At the top of the list, no smoking, normal body mass index. Check it out on the internet. It's very easy. It takes you about a minute. You want it between 18 and 24. 8 to 10 servings of fruits and vegetables a day. Exercise a minimum of 30 minutes 5 days a week. I prefer 2 hours 7 days a week. And sleeping 7 to 8 hours every night of the year. That's the foundation. If you do those things and take adequate B-complex, vitamin C, vitamin D3, you're likely to be healthy. At age 88, I still feel 26 years of age. I still do 2 hours of exercise every morning, and I sleep my 8 hours every night. But that's because I've done this all my life. I have never skimped on supplements or exercise or sleep. Now, the important thing is be happy. It's difficult in today's world, in the pseudodemic, fakeademic, stupidemic that's going on. Personally, I do not believe that there is a virus that is any worse than the average annual flu. I do not believe that masks are necessary or useful or helpful. I think they cause more problems than they help by decreasing your oxygenation, among other things. But that's my belief. I work here at the office 4 days a week at least, and about 10% of my patients come in wearing masks, and I tell them to take it off the minute they walk into my office. And I've been doing this throughout the whole stupidemic. The question is, I am confident that I am capable of taking care of myself. Now, I want to mention that for 50 years, I have used intravenous vitamin C to treat a lot of things. It is one of the healthiest things in the world. It is amazingly safe. Now, I haven't had a true viral illness in well over 12 or 13 years now because of taking 50,000 units of vitamin D3 once a week. I've had several times, maybe once a year, feeling as if there's a virus knocking at the door. In that case, I take 150,000 units of vitamin D 3 days in a row. It always knocks it out. They did a study in Australia about 30 years ago. They gave all the school children 600,000 units of vitamin D3 at the beginning of the school year. It cut the incidence of flus and colds by about 90%. Vitamin D3 is stored in your fat tissues, so it's good for up to 9 or 12 months if you take it all in one big dose. Now, you can take too much. If you take more than 10,000 units a day average and a weight, especially under 150 pounds, you can get kidney trouble from vitamin D3 with too much calcium. If you're taking the amount of vitamin D3 that I take, you don't need any extra calcium because it prevents you from losing calcium. And, of course, you must need at least 100 micrograms of vitamin K1 with it, but I get that anyway. And in any kind of chronic illness, I'm likely to use 15 to up to 45 milligrams of K2. It's really a great, protection of your immune system. Now, let's face it. the average person has problems with the immune system, one way or another, either with inflammation or an autoimmune disease. But you can avoid that if you take all the good things we're talking about and take care of yourself. Now, I want to mention one other thing. I had an email yesterday from a woman whom I saw originally 8 years ago on the verge of cataract surgery. She took my advice. She'd been using USP castor oil, 1 drop in each eye every day. Cataracts are all gone and never had cataract surgery. That is at the top of my list for almost everybody. If you are diagnosed with early cataracts, you can resolve them a lot safer and less expensive than having surgery for cataract removal. And it works. Now you got to do it every day.
Jake was in big
what is
trouble
a minute
with
of
the IRS.
time? I'm Norm. Shaely is here instead of Vince today. Good afternoon. Happy to be with you, and I want to talk about, well, anything you want to talk about. If you want to ask me a question, call 866-582-9933. And otherwise, I'm going to talk about telomeres. Telomeres are the tips of your DNA. Now, I've been looking at this whole concept of healthy longevity for well over 10 years now, almost to 15, in fact. But ordinarily, in the average person, if you have good, healthy habits, and only 10% of Americans even come close to that, and only 2.7 have all the good health habits, 2.7%, that's all that have all the good health habits. But if you have all the good health habits, your telomeres shrink 1% every year of your life. And that means you are genetically predestined, unless you've got sloppy health habits, to live 100 years. The average American lives 78 or 9. That's because of unhealthy habits affecting the nation as a whole. But you have to do these other things we've talked about with the vitamin C, the vitamin D, etc., the vitamin B complex. But you can also regrow or regenerate your telomeres. I have found several different ways that it will work. Number one, you can sleep on or lie on the Rejuva Matrix, a mattress that actually puts out 52 to 78 billion cycles a second at a billionth of a watt. Totally safe. The only contraindication would be a pacemaker. And I've had 34 people who did that for up to 5 years, and telomeres grew an average of 3.5% to 4% every year. That means in 5 years, they were about 18 years younger than when they started, telomere-wise. But it takes a lot of time. So then we discovered that if you did electrical stimulation with the giga-10s, those same frequencies applied to the acupuncture points of certain circuits in the body that raise DHEA, raise calcitonin, and lower free radicals, it also will lead to an average regeneration of telomeres of 3.5% every year of your life. Now, that takes time. It could take almost an hour a day to do that. At least on the mattress, you can sleep on it on a timer. But with this, you have to apply it during the day. Now, so in 2011, I discovered that we could use very specific mixtures of essential oils on these same acupuncture points, and it takes actually 1.5 to 2 minutes a day to do the whole thing. So if you apply Fire Bliss, Earth Bliss, and Crystal Bliss, you actually can regenerate your telomeres 3.5% every year of your life. That's not bad. I mean, that's one of the reasons that at 88 I still feel as good as I did at age 26. And I've been working on all of these things since about 2006. You want to keep your DHEA up. The single most important hormone in your body is dehydroepiandrosterone. And, of course, my favorite statement is, make it, don't take it. You can stimulate your body's ability to make DHEA with several safe techniques. One of those is fire bliss, 30 seconds a day. The second is my youth formula. That each of these raises DHEA an average of 60%. Now, in general, DHEA is peaked in the average person at age 25, but by age 40, they've lost 10 or 20% of what they had at age 25, and by age 80, they've lost 90% or more of what they had at age 25. But by stimulating the ring of fire with Fire Bliss, by taking my youth formula, by using my magnesium lotion, and after age 50, using natural progesterone cream, you regenerate your DHEA by an average of 250%. Now, that is essential. It is the number one thing I recommend for postmenopausal women and for men, especially after the age of 50. It keeps you feeling, healthy, keeps you feeling young, keeps you acting young. DHEA, I don't like to take it because there is a slight risk of prostate cancer or increased breast or ovarian cancer taking it orally, but no risk making your own. It is, in my opinion, the number one problem. Now, there is another problem that is universal because of fluoridated water and inadequate iodine in our food intake, and that is hypothyroidism. If your temperature after you've been out of bed 3 hours in the morning is below 98.6 degrees orally, you are hypothyroid. Now, I won't quibble until you get down to below 98.4, but when you get to 98.3 and below, you're hypothyroid. The blood tests are a waste of money and time if you live in a fluoridated water city, because the lab test and your body cannot distinguish between fluoride and iodine in making triiodotyrosine. But if you don't drink fluoridated water and you're still hypothyroid, the chances are you just, you don't have enough iodine or you're not making it properly. And that is one of the times when I would absolutely recommend Armour's thyroid. My dear mother, at age 55, she wasn't 55, in 1955, had her thyroid gland removed because of cysts in it. She lived another 54 years, but she had to take 180 milligrams of Armour's thyroid, but she was perfectly normal until 2009, when she died at age 97. So, Armour's thyroid is one of the few chronic, I call it a supplement, not a prescription drug. I don't like levothyroxine, the artificial stuff, nearly as well as I like Armour's thyroid. Now, for some people, you can rejuvenate your thyroid by taking adequate iodine, which is just 1.5 milligrams a day. You can get it as liquid iodine, or you can take 1 iodoral, 12.5 milligrams a week, no more than that, and stimulate the ring of fire. About 60% of people can activate their thyroid with that combination of Fire Bliss and a little bit of iodine. But the other 40% especially, and a lot of people who won't do that, are going to need Armour's thyroid as to give normal metabolism, normal energy, normal feeling of being reasonably okay. And it is one of the most important things you can do to keep yourself healthy. But the single most thing you can do is think carefully. Now, we have a series of 68 now autogenic training, biogenics exercises that include all kinds of specific exercises that can help you retrain your brain. Since the beginning in 1971, I have worked with people originally up to 4 weeks in hospital retraining the brain. Then, of course, we gradually got it to a place where for most people we could do it in a week, 40 hours a week here in the office, where we use some of our special tools such as cranial electrical stimulation and the Relax Made and lots of biogenics. Just as an example, I wanted to give you some of the titles of the biogenics exercise: balancing emotions, forgiveness and blessing, transcendent will, internal will, basic will, age regression, rainbow energy balancing, self-actualization, self-image, wise person attunement, who am I, age regression, balancing body feelings, enhancing self-esteem, multi-level awareness, self-actualization, self-image, 5 and 6 pointed star, ring of air, ring of fire, ring of water, ring of earth, ring of crystal, and laughing meditation, rainbow energy balancing, wise person attunement, and of course the basic Schultz, which I've talked about several times. The important thing is if you have serious problems, you really can do this at home. You need to spend a minimum of 4 up to 6 or 8 hours a day retraining your brain. It's a lot safer, and a lot more effective than any drug for mood. Now, in those cases where it doesn't work, we can use the gamma PEMF, pulsed electromagnetic frequency device. It is the greatest invention of my life in the last 60 years. It is superb for depression, anxiety especially, and for narcotic or opioid addiction. It is the only really excellent proven way to cure people of addiction. Interestingly, the ordinary addiction treatment centers won't take it up because they get to treat you 5 times for 3 weeks to 3 months, and their success rate is 17%. If you will do the cranial PEMF, the success rate is 100%. And that's a lot less expensive and a lot safer in the long run. Now, if you would like to ask your question, there's still time for 1 or 2 more in this particular segment, 866-582-9933. Otherwise, I will continue talking about things that I think are optimally important. I do want to mention a couple of my books that I think are important. Living Bliss, LIVINGBLISS. It is the place where I discuss all of the great benefits of the Bliss circuits and the Bliss oils, and it is definitely worth your time. I guess my second favorite book is Conversations with G, A Physician's Encounter with Heaven, and it is essentially my autobiography of my personal mystical experiences in this life. And, of course, if you want to get the broad picture, there is Energy Medicine, which is my most comprehensive book on the broadest field of everything in medicine. And, of course, if you are interested in becoming a medical intuitive, we haven't talked about that yet either. I've been working with people who are intuitive enough with knowing nothing but your name and age can tell you medically, accurately, what is going wrong with your body. I've worked with such people since 1972, and I'm doing a training session starting in January. If you would like to sign up for that medical intuition training program, this is Norm Shaely sitting in for Vince today, and I would like to give you one more chance, 866-582-9933, to ask me a question here. Or if you want to get in touch with me, call and make an appointment. We can do it by phone or Skype or Zoom. There you want to call 888-983-3904, or if you live locally, 417-351-5221. These days we do a lot more of those phone, Skype, etc. than we did before, but we've always done that to some extent. And interestingly, this is the first time in over 50 years I've now traveled out of the state. because of the pseudodemic. And actually, I've done at least a dozen or more Zoom workshops. I do those all the time. And don't forget, if you're interested in my medical intuition training program, then you want to call 855-329-2124. All of these are ways of getting in touch with me, and I'm happy to answer your questions. And, of course, my partner, Dr. Soren, is the first physician that I've found to take over and run this thing long term, no matter how much longer I'm here. He's half my age, and he's one of the physicians that I have has the personality to do it the way it needs to be done, instead of kowtowing to the establishment. As you can tell, I'm not much of an establishment. I may be further out even than Vince is, but I've been doing it for, well, actually about 60 years. I have been doing stuff that is not part of traditional conventional medicine. Again, conventional medicine is okay, good, can save your life in acute illness, and in my opinion, can ruin your life in chronic illness. And chronic to me is, if it hasn't gotten a lot better at 3 months, it's not going to. If 6 months even officially is chronic. But the important thing is take care of yourself. Get yourself my Autogenic Focus by going to Norm at normsheely.com and going to normsheely.com. Sign up for Autogenic Focus. If you don't want the email newsletter, you can unsubscribe. I don't care whether you do the newsletter or not. But I do care that you use Autogenic Training or Autogenic Focus, because it is, in my opinion, the number one, well, de-stressing tool in the world. It will do more for you than all drugs in the world for almost anything. And it works, and it's safe. The important thing is safety first, and the most important thing is take care of yourself. I can't do it for you, but I can give you advice about how to do it for yourself. Every day in every way, I am better and better. That is one of the great statements of the last century. Emil Coué supposedly cured many people by having them just say every day in every way, I'm better and better. We have to believe it. You have to believe you are tapping into God's energy. And you can tap into God's energy with your mind. People who pray every day, who have a religious foundation to their life, live longer than people who don't. They're happier, far less disease, and it's a lot safer and simpler than drugs. The important thing is there are many, many ways to health, but the number one way is your own self-confidence and your own approach to life in general. Take care of yourself. Again, I can't do it for you. I hope I've given you some tools that will allow you to take care of yourself adequately for the next week, and hopefully Vince will be back with you when it comes to next Monday at least, and hopefully long before that. Meanwhile, practice Autogenic Focus, Autogenic Training, 1 or 2 times every day of your life for the next 3 months, and you will wind up happier. Every day in every way, I am better and better. The important thing is you are responsible. Nobody else can do it for you. You are the only one who can do it for you. Blessings, and have a good one for the next week. Every day in every way, I am better and better. Every day in every way, I am better and better. The important thing is you are responsible. My arms and legs are heavy and warm. My heartbeat is calm and regular. My breathing is free and easy. My abdomen is warm. My forehead is cool. My mind is quiet and still. Everything is fine. Take care. Talk to you next Monday.